Today we have a 2016 Honda Odyssey, and we're going to be taking a look at the Rhino Rack RT style roof rack track Aero bar system. There are two different types of roof rack systems you can put on a naked roof. Typically what you see is with normal vehicles, unlike vans, is we have these little clamps that go in the door jambs. But since we have this, it's preventing us from doing that. So that's why the tracks are going to be in that fit guide whenever you put that vehicle in. I really like the track system just because it gives you the ability to slide these around. When it comes to the other style clamp naked roof sets that you may be seeing, we're kind of limited to where we need to put them. Half the time in the instructions, it tells you to put it in a specific spot, and you're kind of limited there. With this, we have 66 inches of track, so we can slide these around to accommodate all of our accessories. If you're deciding between the two different types of naked roof kits, this is the best, in my opinion, because naked roof styles with the clamps take so long to take off. With this, you just need a key. You just need to pull these in, push them forward, and look at that. We can take this off in a matter of seconds, which is going to be really nice if you don't really like to have the bars up there. And we can either keep these in here, loosen them, slide them out, or I'd rather just put that little cap on there so it's ready to rip for next time. And it's just as easy to put it back into place. In my opinion, after messing with this thing for a while, this thing is absolutely amazing, because I just want to get to the bike trail, I just want to get to the water, blah, 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 blah. Look at that, done. As you can see, we can both take our whole entire sunroof completely back. We can also tilt it without hitting our bar. And that's because we have a significant amount of space between our roof and the bottom of our bar. I'd say it's a solid 3.5 inches from the roof to the bottom of the bar, which is kind of a lot. We actually still have a decent amount of room right here. So if this thing is completely up, we have about 2 inches, and that's going to clear most clamp style accessories. With our Honda Odyssey, we have a little bit different spread from the front compared to the back, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about, because on the front, we're literally right over top of the sunroof, and we only have close to 2 inches of overhang on both sides. But moving to the back, it's a little bit closer. The tracks are a little closer to each other, so from the end cap, it's about 2 3/4 of an inch. Aero bars are great because it's a pretty standard size, so all of your clamp around accessories are going to work with it. But the cool thing about this is we have a little slot right here. So for T-track accessories, a lot of the times with T-tracks, well, one, it's nice because it's not as bulky underneath. It looks a little bit more clean, but it is going to keep some of that height down with some of your other accessories. So with the Aero bars, you are going to get two different options when it comes to that. So that really leaves all your options open, which I like. But one thing you do want to do whenever we find a place for your accessory to sit, we're going to cut that little section out and then fill the rest in just to keep the wind noise to a minimum. For your clamp around accessories, if those have locking capabilities, definitely get those, just because someone could take it off if it didn't have a lock on it. But if you do use the T-slots, the nice thing about it is, look at this shape. That is very unique. If you don't have this key, I have tried to get it unlocked, and it's very, very hard, and you end up just destroying this cap. So definitely keep this special key. So that's gonna help us lock all of our T-slot accessories to the roof. I really like that because you don't really need to get a locking accessory if you are using the T-slots, because you're going to need this special tool to get to it. It also does come with locking cores. Some roof rack systems don't come with locking cores. This one does, so you don't have to shop for more stuff. And I really like that. You can, if you do have some other type of Rhino Rack accessories, this is a 001 locking core, but we can match those all up together just so we don't have to have a bunch of different keys. With this specific kit, it does come with a larger capacity than some of the other standard clamp on style naked roof racks, but always check your vehicle's owner manual, because typically the roofs can't really handle near as much weight as the roof rack system. So that's the case for here. We can load this thing up completely, and we're not going to overload the bars, but we might overload our roof. So definitely either call your manufacturer or look in that owner's manual to find that number so we're not stressing out our car too much. This isn't your typical install, but once you get it all set up, it is the best option in my opinion for our 16 Honda Odyssey. So if you're a little nervous about the install, just watch Adam and I'll take care of you. And you'll be very, very confident after you watch the install portion of this video so you can do it at home by yourself. First thing you want to do is get some tape, and before you put the tape down, you want to clean off the surface so the tape sticks. And then I did 2 layers just to kind of give me an idea of exactly where I want. Just want to protect the roof from anything. And then once that's done, we're going to take some measurements. These measurements will vary from vehicle to vehicle, but what I'm doing on our 16 Honda Odyssey, there is a little trim piece here, and there's a little line right in there. So I'm using that line as a reference, and goal here is to get the even amount of spacing from this point here to our track, and then we're going to go on the back, and I'm using the little hatch crack right here to get about 17 inches. So there's 17 right here, and then 17 from our front measurement as well. Once we get that done, grab a little Sharpie or a marker and mark these lines at that mark on each side. And then it does help if you have an extra set of hands, because as you can see, our roof is a little curved and our bar is not. So what I did was I grabbed a friend and I lined up one, pushed this side down, and then you take that same exact Sharpie marker and you mark all these holes. So as you can see on our tape, we have our line, hole, 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 holes, line. So we do want to make sure that it's going to be nice and even as well. So I'm using the gutter right here as a reference to make sure that the distance between the gutter and the center of the hole is the same throughout the whole entire thing. I like this just because it's going to kind of curve to our gutters and it'll look really good. Now we're going to need a 5mm bit, and we do want to set the stop. So I'm using tape just because I don't have these in my garage, so you probably won't either. But using this tape here, we want about 5 to 7mm of bit sticking out because we don't want to go all the way through the headliner. So typically with drilling this stuff out, you want to be nice and slow and steady, just to make sure that bit's not going to get all dull. But especially in this case, we don't want to go through too quick and punch through our liner. So medium amount of pressure, and we don't want to be sitting here ripping like that. So you just want to sit there, do it nice and easy. And just take your time. Patience is a virtue. My mom always told me that. And we can do the same thing for all of our other holes. Trust me when I say these metal shards don't feel good when they hit your skin. So let's suck them on up. Well, now we can take our masking tape off. Not really doing a great job, but so what I'm doing is just take a little bit of clear and putting it on like a little rag. Ear little cleaner is gonna be the best for this. We just wanna go and hit the inside of that metal to coat it. And then once we put this on all the holes, we'll just give it like 15 minutes to dry. Now it's time for the butyl tape. You just wanna take one side, pull it off, and line it up with the hole the best you can. Just like that. And then we can do that for all the holes, and then we will peel this top layer off. If you got fingernails, great. If you don't, find some fingernails. It is kind of hard to peel this off. There we go. Now that we have our bar up, we just want to put our end caps on, get our rivets ready, and then get some air to our rivet gun. I do not have a rivet gun in my arsenal in my garage, so if you don't, just go to the hardware store and pick one up. And you don't really need a really fancy one. You just need one that's going to work because it is a necessary part to this install. We do want to start with the front and work our way back. We have this little spacer that comes with the rivets in the kit. And we want to make sure it's nice and seated in there. If not, just take a little hammer and just tap, 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 tap. Not too much. We just want to make sure it's in there. And depending on the rivet gun that you're using, there might be a little bit of scratches on the rails, but they do give you that spacer. Grab this, and here's the spacer. We're going to use this spacer for the remaining holes. Once you have it done on one side, you do the same exact thing on the other side. The kit is going to come with some towers. We have 4 total, 2 down here, but we already installed the ones on the back. But for the front, since we have a little curve in our roof, we are also going to get a spacer kit. So we are going to be installing that. And of course, we have another bar. Now we're going to go ahead and start with the bottom section of our kit. This is what it's going to look like when we're done. I have found it easier to put these on first. So what you want to do is we're going to take the flat washer and place that in, flat washer. Follow it with the lock washer. Make sure they're seated down. We're going to take our 2 little bolts, and notice how they have a special little tool and a special little indentation that's just going to prevent people from running off with it. It is a lot easier to put these on right now. We don't need to tighten them down. We just need to thread them on a little bit. Kind of like this. And trust me, this is easier to do before we install them. A couple twists on both of them. And one thing we can do after this, if you wanted to, I did, it was a little easier. We have this little rubber piece. You just fit that right there. And that's all you need to do for these. We don't have to remove this cap or anything. It's slotted, so we can just slide her on in. I like to kind of keep my finger on the bolt, and the bolts, the little spacers are only going to go on one way. And the kit does recommend anywhere from 24 to 27.5 inches of spread, and that's just from the center to the center of our back bar. Now that that's in place, we can take our tool and tighten it down. We're going to have one extra step when we're putting the spacers on. First, we want to take this cap off because it's blocking what we need to get to. Take your key, unlock that, and that's what we were seeing underneath. And now we have a little bolt. So we can take that same exact tool we just used. We're actually going to completely remove this little top section. And also the bolt. But when we do take this out, we do want to look at the washer and lock washer, and we're going to transfer that to the bigger one. And that's just going to compensate for the difference in space because of our spacer. Now that that's done, plop that back in there. We can put our splacer block on. As you can see, fits nice and snug. You'll know if it's in the right position. And we can put this plate back on there, but not all the way. Let's remove our end caps. Slide those to the side for now. Flip the bar over, and we are going to take this. I want to make sure that the red tabs are going to be facing out. And this is only going to go in like this in that little slot. Perfect. So what I like to do, because we really don't want to completely set these, we want to be able to move them a little bit. It's really hard to line it up perfectly. So I'm just tightening it ever so slightly to where it really doesn't want to move that much, but I can still move it with a little bit of force. So that's what we're going for. Do the same thing on this side. Since the Aero bar from Rhino Rack is perfectly symmetrical, we don't have to worry about which side goes forward. So what we want to do is start on one side, kind of get it into place, and you kind of notice how I'm a little far off. So that's why I kind of keep these nice and loose. Slide this one out. Start to get it lined up. We can adjust this once we kind of get it set into place. But one thing, quick little tip, what we can do is you can take these little tabs in, you push them in, and push them towards the inside of the rail, like that. So by doing that, I'm going to do it on the other side. We can actually get it to sit in there perfectly, kind of like that. That's a quick tip for you. And I do really like how they designed this, because now it just sits in there so nicely. And once it's in there, you can kind of pull these out. Might have to force it down a little bit, and it'll click into place, and we'll do that same thing on the other side. Now for the caps, put it in like this, make sure it's flush, twist it, pull that key, and it's good to go. Same with our cap for our crossbar. There we go. And that pretty much does it for our look at the Rhino Rack RT style roof rack track Aero bar system.